How's it going, everybody? We're doing a little bit of an early week in AMA. Not quite in the mood to work on what I need to work on, so I'll have to make up that time tomorrow. But I always want to keep it pushing, and so I figured let's do our weekend AMA a little bit early. And excuse me while I finish up my ice cream sandwich because I just had dinner. Now it's time for dessert. So I want to talk a little bit about mentoring as people funnel in here. Mentoring is one of those things that I think not only makes you a better developer, but it's one of those things that I think is sort of our responsibility. Part of that is because some people think of software engineering as a craft, and I tend to agree. And good morning, the Baylis Code. The unfortunate truth is that in any craft, you have good craftsmen and you have bad craftsmen. Software is no different. And it's our responsibility to teach those around us and become a good craftsman and make those around us better craftsmen. I also think software is a field in which what's being taught in schools isn't always relevant. And so it's like the old yeah, learn in the streets, and the streets are the working world. And it's important for you to teach people because they don't most people don't even know where to go. Um, but more than that, you can get some benefit out of it. You can get better. You can fully understand things more in depth when you are mentoring or teaching people, guiding people, typically just doing good in the world. And I consider mentoring being one of those things that you're doing good in the world, and so you'll feel good about it. Um, it may not always be. So one of the funny things about mentoring is sometimes people want to be mentored, sometimes people don't. Um, but when you're passionate, sometimes you force your mentoring upon people, and then some people aren't very happy about it. What's going on, Ruben? You guys want to hear something kind of funny? Um, you know how you guys got me a little bit upset last live stream about about like developers and Bootstrap and all that sort of shit. Um, so I talked with my boss. I said, look, if we ever get opportunity to train some junior developers, I'd love for it. And he's sending up the chain, so you never know. Probably not this week or next week, but down the road, your boy might be educating some devs and getting everyone sort of on the same page, which would be kind of nice. All right. So, coding bootcamp or self-taught for someone who already has a finance degree. It really depends on what type of individual you are. So for certain people, they need that structure, they want that help, they want that environment. I understand that, but it's sort of a choice you have to make, and you have to know yourself inside and out. Does age matter when hiring devs? No. Ageism is obviously a real thing in any industry, but don't let that persuade you. A lot of times those stats like, oh, well, the average developer is X amount of years old. The average dev's only been learning for like 5 years or less. And the field itself has exploded in recent years, and typically younger people are the ones who are getting careers started, unless you're going to have a younger demographic in that specific niche. And considering that software technology has exploded in the last decade or two, you're going to have a younger crowd. Because if you're older, you probably would have already had a career chosen by then, and you're not necessarily transitioning. Would I fight Conor McGregor in Vegas for 500,000? Yeah, let's do it. Is it bad practice to use other coding snippets? There's nothing wrong with using other people's code and seeing it. Um, the the only thing is make sure you understand it, or like you're never gonna get better. Okay, so should you accept counteroffers? I did. I still ended up leaving in 6 months because oftentimes you're probably leaving for a reason, and those reasons don't change even if they pay you more money. But I'm okay with counteroffers. You just have to make that decision for yourself. How much should you charge hourly if you only know HTML, CSS, JavaScript? It depends on what it's worth to you. Are you just trying to get some paid anything and get some resume experience? So what I would say is that you're probably at a minimum wage to $10 to $15 an hour range, knowing just that. When I was doing just that, I charged 15 to 20, and I think 25 at some point. But yeah, counteroffers are interesting. A lot of people are very anti-counter. They're like, if you left once, they'll know you'll leave again. Maybe. I know I did, but that doesn't mean that that's the case. What may happen is they may find out like, oh, this guy's worth a lot. They'll pay it, and then they'll like, all right, let's keep them. They're invested in keeping you. And chances are they're probably not going to think that you're going to leave anytime soon. Oh man, tired today. What is the smoke? It's my essential oil diffusers. Yeah, you gotta stop watching the news, man. I told you I stopped watching it a while back. I occasionally get some of it through YouTube on occasion, but by and large, just one of those things where I literally just am working on other things. I don't have time to think about it. So when you connect with people on LinkedIn, do you send initial requests, initial message, or just send a request? So I really only connect with colleagues, and everyone else connects with me. Coincidentally, if I am connecting with somebody else, they know why, and I send them a message just to say, "Oh, hey, so and so said that we should connect. That you can help me with this project, this that." That's usually the only time I ever connect with somebody. I took over a project for a consultancy. I have no ability. Written some language I never understand. Very short, shoddy development. No source control. No dev. Can you recommend where to get high level help? First off, I recommend you never take on a project like that. Secondly, I would you take on. So there's a difference between taking on a project that's going to be a challenge and taking on a project that you have no shot of completing. So depending on where you think you lie, you're gonna, Mr. Robert Kim, you're gonna get a little bit of a learning lesson from this. Now, what I would say is very quickly get source control enabled. Very quickly create a dev environment, and very quickly start taking a 30-hour Udemy course on those subject matters. And if all that fails, and you feel like you can't deliver it after 2 weeks of hacking it out, tell them. That's what I would say. Tell them and don't get paid. Have you ever got stuck and never find a solution while working on a project? Yeah, but I wouldn't say I've never found a solution. It just took longer than you would like it to, and sometimes you have to ask for help. That's all. I'll give you an example. Today, I was building a double nested modal. And what I mean by that, in Angular, you have these things called template references. And so essentially what they are is you can create a reference to a piece of your HTML, and that it can be on a component that you've created, and then you can call the methods that are part of that component that you created a reference to in your HTML. Now, what I need to do was take that, which I had already built, then nest it in another component that uses it, but still had its own stuff that extended that component. And so, the reason for it is I wanted to. So, although I had a generic modal component, I needed to consume that modal component in its in another component because we used the same modal in multiple spots. So it had different content, but still used the modal component. So I was doing that today, and it probably that part of it took me probably, I don't know, 2 hours, something like that. I got a little stuck on it. I was actually going to pair up with a colleague of mine. I said after I spent about, I'm hacking it out. I just can't get it quite right. Oh, okay, cool, no problem. I reached out to him, said, "Hey, can you help me with this?" About an hour in, he's like, "Let's." He's like, "Give me 45 minutes. I'm in a meeting." By the end of the 45 minutes, I'd figured it out. But if I hadn't, yeah, I have no. So here's the thing, guys. Reach out if you are stuck. Like I usually have a 15-minute rule. So reach out. You've been meaning to hit me up on LinkedIn, Lawrence. Hey man, you go at your own pace, man. Do senior devs get annoyed when you ask them for help at work when you're a junior dev? When I was a junior dev, I didn't give a shit. So, like, you're gonna help me. I got questions, and you got the answers. But yeah, man. I mean, there's all like there's etiquette that you need. Like, hey, if someone's got their headphones on and you just asked a question 20 30 minutes ago, there's probably nothing more upsetting to any dev than you ask a question that you definitely could have googled. Like, hey, what's the difference between, I'm just pulling something out of my ass, I see a double equals and triple equals here, what's the difference there? And you go and interrupt someone's workflow instead of just googling some shit like that. So but the average senior dev's happy to help you, man. Is my company hiring? My company has 250,000 employees. I imagine they're always hiring. But yeah, we're looking for senior. If here, man, you heard it here. If you are a senior JavaScript engineer and you want to work with your boy, holler at me on LinkedIn. I don't care if you have any work experience. I'll give you a basic technical interview, and if you covering these subjects that we cover, such as we work with, is a full mean stack. So I'll interview you as if you're a mean stack, and if you pass my my very, probably a 20-minute call. I did one the other week, and unfortunately, the young lady, although I would have hired her as a junior dev, we need senior. Um, so you have 3 projects finished. Should you start applying? You should always apply to see where you're at, and also tell you what to improve upon. One thing a lot of people do is they wait too long to apply for jobs. I don't care if you look, guys. I am the type of developer that I don't give a shit if you have any development experience. You can be a fantastic coder and not have dev experience. Now, are you more likely to be better with experience? Yeah. Do I use CodePen? Not really anymore. I mean, I used it way back in the day. The only time I ever use CodePen is like if I want to go find like a cool little CSS design or something like that, I'll go on CodePen. What was she lacking that made me pass on her? There's some. So, uh, principles, methodologies would be one, and then certain technologies like, um, although I personally don't think although I personally don't think it's a big deal if you don't understand TypeScript and Angular, if that's and Node for that matter, but I think my work does. And so um, that's just one of those things. And to me, it's like if I can find the right person and we're like, hey, we're going to have to train this person, we just give them a 3-month contract. I would rather give a junior dev a 3-month contract and then fire them if they actually aren't passionate and they actually we invested some time, whatever. Um, but like in 3 months, if you put time outside of work and you ask the right questions at work, you can I can I can double your skill in 3 months. No problem. Um, how much should I charge for mentoring? $150 an hour right now. Yeah, my mentoring rates have since I've started have always been two and a half times somewhere between two and a quarter, 2.5 times my hourly salaried rate. Um, so as my salary goes up, so as my mentoring rates, because you have to find that sort of balance that makes it worth your time, right? Um, Wait, I can only charge $15 and $25 per hour if I know web design, HTML, CSS, basic JavaScript. Um, yeah, Ruben. I mean, you might be able to do better than that. But what else do I need to learn on the front end to raise the price? You're probably going to need to learn. So you're probably going to need to learn, obviously, Git for version control, some testing, and most importantly, a front end framework. And then you're going to probably want to pick up some back end as well. What does it mean to wait too long? A lot of people just get so nervous they wait to apply until they feel like they're completely ready, this and that. And like that's a poor mistake. You should go out there and see what's going on. Should I ask for the average salary I find on Glassdoor for people with my experience when looking for jobs? If I asked for the average salary, I'd make about $45,000 less. So ask for what you think you're worth. Go from there. Um, that's how Florida weather. It's raining, man. Uh, should you start applying for jobs 8 months before graduation? Yes. Do you have any tips that stand out for a remote job? It's the same tips I would have normally. Juice Staples, during interviews, how do you talk up your skills without seem inexperienced or without a degree? I have 9 projects, but I haven't had any luck landing a job in the data field. Well, certificates is already a great thing that you can talk about it. And one thing that there's an art to interviewing, and you have to be able to like I can't tell you about data science. I'm guessing that's what you mean by the data field. So what I would say is make sure you're answering the questions properly and correctly with examples and you fully understand the concepts. One thing that's very apparent when someone doesn't fully understand concepts is when they can't tell you what these concepts are, uh, and and they can only give you examples because that means that they don't understand it. So like I'll give you a basic example. Let me think here. Um, like if I was to say, hey, if we were asking CSS question, I said, what's the difference between a block element and an inline element? And you couldn't explain it, but you're like, well, like a div is a block and a span is an inline. Okay, cool, but what's the difference? And you can't really speak to it, or you can't speak to whatever the question is. That means you have a very low understanding of what it is. Um, how much for live singing? Look, there's only one song I know, and it's by Sir Mix-a-Lot. So I don't know. Have I interviewed Canadian candidates who require a visa? I have not. Uh, would that make a can it look less appealing to you? Not to me. To stand out for a remote job, I'd probably focus on experience dealing with other remote developers. So that'd probably be it. Though a diffuser is bad. What was my first interview like? God, first I interviewed for a role that God was. I mean, I've had a lot of first interviews. It's hard to remember. First interview was probably 5 years ago. It's hard to remember what that was like. But a lot of the people I was interviewing, little mom and pop things that are trying to get going, and yeah, they're interesting to say the least. I remember this one guy who was he. It kind of looked like I don't remember the names from the Trailer Park Boys, but the main guy, and he had like an earpiece in, and he was like eating a salad on a TV tray while he was interviewing me, and I'll never forget that I was so desperate for a role. I just wanted anything, and um, he said something along the lines of like real web developers use what do you call that shit? What was that old drag and drop text or IDE that people use? Is a player, he doesn't remember his first. Not WebStorm. Dreamweaver. Real web developers use Dreamweaver. I was like, no, I'm not going here. Yeah. And I have another one where like the guy said he was gonna hire me and they just never called me. Um, and like I followed up and never happened. And I had another one where I interviewed and it was for Python and they weren't interviewed. It wasn't like the interview was all that bad, but it was one of those things where like it was in this little crack shack like business building. um, do I mentor people? Yeah. So part of the reason I do these live streams is to provide mentoring. I do one-on-one mentoring. That costs 150 an hour, and we sit down. We can do mock interviews. We can do code reviews. We can go over your portfolio. We can go over your LinkedIn, your all that sort of stuff. Joseph, yo, what's up, Dylan? 1 month in as a working dev and still super trash. Struggles are real. Hey, man, as long as you keep moving forward. So, like, got your very first role, you have 3 months for every single day you come home from work and you study the technologies that you work in. And if you're not sure how to study, just go buy a Udemy course on it that has 10,000 students or something like that, and it's 20 hours long, and do every one of those courses. Uh, that's what I would do for my first 3 months. Any experience with React? I've played around in React. How does it compare to Angular? Personally, I like Angular better. React is definitely much more of a functional language, but Angular is object oriented. But more so than that, I think the thing that I don't like about React is that it's not very structured. um, in the sense that like Angular, if you're working with Angular, and the reason like enterprise companies like Angular is because in theory, you're all using the same dependencies. React gives you a lot more flexibility, but um, people have used that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Have I heard? So it wasn't even. So, was it $30 an hour? I thought it was $20 an hour. Um, watch the video you took about the guy that told you good luck with that when you asked for $30 an hour. Have you heard from him since? No, man. And by the way, the guy that we're talking about is the guy with the ear thing in, following up to get some people. They still had my resume, and this was back when. So they wanted to pay me for that role, like $12 an hour, something like that, and I was like, no, I need at least 15 or 30 or 20. All this. Um, are the skill sets developed building a React Native app highly translatable to React projects? I couldn't tell you. I haven't React Native. Um, it's always those small web dev shops that are always arguing. I've been applying. The guys that give me the most negative feedback are from small businesses. Yeah, those were always the so like the small web dev shops that you don't even know exist. That they'll probably a lot. I don't know how many of those small web dev shops told me they have the secret sauce to SEO sort of thing, and that's why their clients hire them. Um, those types of guys. Not that there aren't good ones, but I've always had a negative experience with them as well. Hey Dylan, I just got accepted into boot camp for July. The stack is ASP.NET. I was wondering if I should try to take the class now or try to learn some on my own before the next one, September. Um, I mean, July. So typically, I tell people to study for 3 to 6 months before their boot camp. Study everything that you're gonna cover. You can do a Udemy course a month, and you'll go in there ramped up, and you'll learn a lot very quickly, and you'll probably get a job right out of the boot camp. Secret sauce SEO, yeah. I don't know how many times I heard that shit. I was like, if your SEO is so good, why does it look like you're going out of business? Is always what I was thinking. Um, how many websites do you recommend I build with HTML CSS before I start learning SAS? So SAS is very similar. I don't think there's any problem with you just jumping into SAS. SAS just has a few additional things. It has nesting, it has variables, it has mix-ins, but you're still going to have to be very proficient in CSS. It's just, to me, I look at it as a different way of almost writing CSS, a more programmatic way, and I also think it's a gives you some what's the word I'm looking for? Gives you some additional features. That's really it. But you still have to know CSS for it. I had a small web dev shop I applied to, and they later told me we don't learn anything out of WordPress because it doesn't make money. My background is Marin/Python. Yeah, which is fine. Like I tell people all the time that like a lot of those smaller companies, like you have to understand what their business model is, right? So like I work for a enterprise clients that deal in the billions of dollars in revenue. Now they're going to be able to pay me better. They're going to be able to do this, this, and that. And what they want is something custom. What a small web design business deals with is in the hundred thousands, maybe $1 million of revenue a year. And what their clients are they're the other small businesses. They're the local gas station, local massage parlor, local restaurant that just needs something that works that they can update and put something out on. And those things, usually flat fee, and then they maybe make some money on hosting or maintenance. So that's their business. I sort of get it. What's my opinion on CSS Grid versus Bootstrap? It's learn CSS Grid and Flexbox. Don't waste your time with Bootstrap. Yeah, I mean, look, man, if I don't know that I could work in PHP, but if someone was gonna pay me good money to do WordPress, I might consider it. But the fact of the matter is, statistically speaking, they're not. I use CSS Grid. I like CSS Grid quite a bit. There's nothing wrong with Flexbox. I just haven't liked CSS Grid. Watching videos for months but never caught one. Hey, we live, Jesse. Don't you worry. I'm a little tired though, so I apologize. Thursday. So like I don't know. Like I've learned that Thursday is the day where I'm like beat. Like I mean, it's not Wednesday. Wednesday I'm usually pretty good, but by Thursday it's like, oh man, I'm tired. And Friday I feel okay because it's over. Usually Fridays are easier days. Talk about Bootstrap. Yeah, don't get me going about Bootstrap again. You tired? I guess I'll leave then. Hey, just like all the women in my life. No, I'm just kidding. April's downstairs. um, apparently our dog's yakking. Would I recommend React or Angular? I recommend whatever is in your area that's hiring. Once you get proficient as a JavaScript developer and a front-end developer, it won't really matter the framework. My last job, I got hired for Vue. Never worked in Vue. What did I want to be when I was a kid? A writer, probably. Like my father was a writer, and I was part of journalism. I wrote articles, and naturally, what happens is they just beat out the creativity out of you, and then you move on. Is Clojure all about scope and functions? More or less. About functions calling functions and how the scope interacts with it. Sometimes referred to as curried functions. Have you ever worked at a company that had way too many meetings that to the point where it slowed everyone down? Every company. Except my very first one. My very first one, I had like 2 meetings in the entire year. It was strange, but they were also had no idea what they were doing, and it was a unique experience. Do I think .NET is worth learning? Yes, man. There's a lot of good paying, high demand .NET jobs. Did I lose weight recently? Sort of. Because I put on a lot of weight, and then I slowly been slimming down, but I think I'm heavier than I was. Yeah, I'm probably in a pretty bad shape right now. Why is TypeScript so important? Well, it teaches good. Hopefully, if you actually adhere to it, it teaches you good coding standards, object-oriented programming, and how to interact with static types. Introduces concepts that JavaScript doesn't have as well. If you're good at design, will it help you stand out for competition? Yeah. Certain roles value design. Like if you guys know Ricky Garcia, who's a friend of mine and a colleague on YouTube, he's very big on UI UX, but he's not so much in terms of like the development side. So like he gets more UI UX roles than I would normally people be interested in, or people be interested in me in rather. Is mobile dev dying? I don't know. I don't follow mobile. I could just tell you that web dev's doing very well. Do you have a lot less stress as a developer when you're not worried about money as a domino driver? Yeah. So one thing is I don't worry about money anymore because I got it. My bills are paid. So I gave you an example right now. I've ran out 2 of my rooms. My mortgage for this brand new house out of pocket is about $600 a month. With my HOA fees, about $800 a month. Utilities are probably, I don't know, we'll say $500. It's a little less than that, but we'll say 500. So $1,300 a month is my total expenses right now, not counting food and not counting gas. I can cover that out of pocket for the next 2 years, something like that. And mind you, I also bring in about $1,500, $2,000 a month on top of that. So being a dev has given me the ability to do that, and there's something very liberating about not needing a job. How many people need a job and they're like, do you use Photoshop for UI and UX design? Some people do. I don't know too much about it though. What would you suggest to getting into a good UI UX? I'd start with some Udemy courses. No, my mortgage is $1,880. I have my house was built last year, and I Paid $260,000 for it. It's brand new. It's almost 3,000 square feet. It's about 1880, but after I rent 2 of the rooms out, I pay about $500-600 a month. Yeah, yeah. Right now, I'm more or less trying to. So I didn't have a ton of money to put down on the house, um, but I did go ahead and am paying off my home and investing in stocks and stuff. But I will eventually be going there. Is it awkward having roommates? Not really. I mean, here's the thing: is it's as awkward as you um if you want to make it, I guess. So like if I didn't like it, but you're saying, okay, well my 1880 mortgage goes down to $600 a month, and now I have $1,200 or $1,300 that I can invest in other things. So you're making a trade-off. Obviously, it's a trade-off I don't need to make. After taxes, after YouTube, I take home about $8,000 a month after taxes, and side projects and stuff like that. 7,500 to $9,000 a month in a good month. So 7,500 in bad months. So like these aren't things I need to do, but I'm trying to save now. Why I don't have children and I won't want roommates then, and so I can ramp up and like you're like, oh, you have roommates for 2-3 years or something like that. But this is a relatively new thing. But you're like, well, in 2-3 years, I saved up enough to buy an investment property. So like while I'm having roommates now, I'll guarantee I won't need them later, job or no job. So that's sort of my thought process on it. Um, I'm considering QA, test engineer, front end engineer. I would recommend front end, but I also recommend you going the path that you want to, that you enjoy it. Jesse Sperlin, if you type in clean code JavaScript, you'll see uh, JavaScript examples. But again, should be theory stuff, so you should be language agnostic and be able to learn it. Is Pug.js worth learning? I haven't learned any. I don't know what Pug.js is. Did you ever suffer from lack of motivation when learning code? No, there's something about dropping out of college and everyone thinking that you're gonna fail. That's very motivating. It is my essential oil diffuser that you guys see. Any advice for you to at your first meet up? Yeah, just be yourself, man. Try to make relationships. Don't try to, squeeze juice and value out of people. Just try to meet some people, make relationships. What's going on, Connor? I'm so good at delay of gratification. Here's the thing, man. I've been broke. I don't like it. I've been stressed about money. I don't like it. I have had to have a job I didn't want. Didn't like it. I don't like doing things I don't want to do. So, um, I bought a larger house than I needed for this exact reason. Um, Here we are. I built an e-commerce website a while back using a WordPress theme. Should I add it to my LinkedIn and resume, or should I try to recreate it? I mean, add anything that you think is of value. Angry Bigfoot, what do I charge for one-on-one consultation? $150. They last an hour. Yeah, I always include people to tell people put their last one job on there. In your case, you have no relevant experience. That last one job is going to be the very bottom thing on your resume. You're going to have things like technologies, certificates, and projects above that. I'm glad you like the site, Jesse. Any advice on how to sift out crappy tenants as a landlord? So like it's different. So like, okay. So here's the thing. When I've interviewed quite a few people. When I was renting out both these rooms, my rooms here rent for about $150 higher than probably the market rate. So I charge $650 a room. Probably the average room is about $500 in my area. So what that does is not only does it get me more money because you're in a nicer home and it's newer home and it's gated communities, that sort of stuff, but you also are eliminating some people who are going to be scraping by and can afford that. And when I, because mind you, this isn't like I'm renting an apartment. They're renting a room in my home, and what I would say to that is, um, in that case, I always do month to month. So if it doesn't work out for me, I can tell them to go. If it doesn't work out for them, they can go about their business. No one's being held hostage. You always want to get a deposit up. Ask why they're leaving. So like, you won't believe the shit some people will tell you when they say, "Hey, well, why are you looking for, why are you looking to move? Why are you looking for a room to rent?" And they say, "Well, my bitch ex-girlfriend." I was like, "No, I don't need that drama in my house, dude." So ask these questions and interview these people as if you're gonna work with them and live with them because you are. Um, yeah, angry Bigfoot. Just shoot me an email whenever you're ready, man. Um, That's $150 an hour today. It is a multiplier based on where my hourly salary breakdown is. So that could go up in the future. We'll see. I just started a new job, so usually, I don't know that they're gonna be giving me a bump in pay until my 1 year, but you never know, man. Boy can hope. Yeah, if you want to be more with the HTML and CSS and JavaScript stuff, take a look at what do you call it? UI UX, man. If you enjoy the design aspect, that's what UI UX is for. As a YouTuber, is it worth doing videos about technologies that have been covered many times? It's worth it in the sense that you're going to learn and you're going to create something unique. Um, that sense it's worth it. What about jQuery? No, no jQuery. I'm not taking the bait this time, guys. I'm too tired to get riled up. I'm too tired to get riled up about jQuery and Bootstrap today, man. Uh, what do I think about universal basic income? I think it's an interesting idea that won't work. I think it'd be nice though. I think probably what will happen is it'll just inflate prices. That's all. Not to the point where it won't benefit. But we'll just inflate prices. That's all. I don't like jQuery. It's wrong with it. It served its purpose. It's no longer needed. And you're not going to make good money learning jQuery. I don't know about you guys, but if I have the choice between making $20 an hour doing jQuery, $40 or $60 an hour doing React, Angular, Vue, which one are you going to choose? One has a lot more features, one is a lot more in demand, and one has you doing development versus basic design. Have I had a non-software job? Yeah, man. I've been working since I was about 12. I've worked at restaurants. I've worked at pizza places. I've worked at grocery stores. I've done manual labor. But if you really love jQuery, yeah, go ahead. Look, man. If you guys want to go work in jQuery and make a third of what you can elsewhere, go for it. I hope you do. Because that means there's less competition for me. But I have to be honest with you that is a very poor decision. Did you struggle when attempting to implement your first API on a web application? Yeah, man. I was crying all weekend because I didn't understand the concept of API, and I literally worked all weekend trying to get it to work, and I didn't and then I went on Monday and asked my developer coworker to explain it, and it clicked like that. It was rough. Um, what I think about building a website in assembly, I think it'd be cool. You feel like you're gonna be bored at your first dev job? I doubt that. No. You could be, but if so, just leave in 36 months for more money. What I think of PHP, I'm not a fan. We shouldn't learn jQuery. I mean, you can spend a weekend playing around with it. All jQuery is for the most part, is shorthand selectors and features that JavaScript already offers. A lot of it's been deprecated. A lot of people used to use jQuery to do easier AJAX calls. You don't need to do that with fetch anymore. A lot of people used it because it allowed easier manipulation of the DOM. You don't need to do that anymore because you use frameworks for that. A lot of people used it because selectors are easier. You don't need to do that anymore because frameworks help you with that. And so what I'm telling you is go ahead, play around with it, experience it, work with it, but move on very soon. Am I planning on buying a new iMac? No, I like Windows. Yeah, $ equals document.query selector for all. That's all it was. What is your better option for PHP? Node, C Sharp, whatever. You'll make more money doing C Sharp and Node than you will in PHP. And also, there's a bajillion PHP developers. They're all the PHP developers that never want to learn anything new. Any advice for getting a girl who is into tech, Star Wars, sci-fi? Tinder ain't working. Well, that's because I would say those types of girls probably aren't there. I'm sure they are, but why don't so Ballflick, if you're looking for a girl that's into software and tech, have you tried going to software tech sci-fi meetups? Have you tried going to those things? My buddy and I used to laugh about how like a buddy of ours really wanted to get like an emo girl. I was like, "Well, how you doing it?" I just looking for him. Like, no, dude, you have to go where people you have to go where these interests. Yeah, I'm not telling you to go bars. Go if you want to find someone interested in Star Wars or into tech, go to tech gatherings and Star Wars gatherings and sci-fi gatherings. Any plans to pivot to Python as it grows in popularity? No, not unless I move into data science. I think JavaScript's a great first language to learn. James donates $2. Thank you, James. I appreciate that, man. That's $2 going to pay off this mountain of debt called a mortgage. I appreciate that very much. What's your opinion on the hottest skill in the web dev stack that'll make me in most demand? Well, it's a lot of things. So, um, it depends on what it is that you want. But I would definitely say, um, see, it's not just one thing though. But aren't those meetups mostly just male nerds? Maybe. How many people are you trying to meet? If you're talking, so here's the thing: tech, Star Wars, sci-fi. These are things that are probably a little bit more male dominated. That's not saying girls aren't into this stuff, but I'm saying he's looking for someone who's interested in nerdier stuff. Now, you might have to just, yeah, you might be in a more if you know, they're more male dominated fields. There's gonna be more men there. It doesn't mean there's not gonna be women. How to be a self-taught Java developer? I don't know. I haven't done Java since college. How long did it take me to get good enough at JavaScript? Start applying for jobs? Somewhere between 9 months and a year. James with another $2 said, "Do you see that Codecademy is teaching C Sharp?" I did. Codecademy's been adding a lot of stuff, um, so that's good on them. How come I never bust out the whiteboard in the live streams anymore? It's right there. Um, I mean, I busted out when needed. You might see it in an upcoming course I'm working on. If you really want to see the whiteboard. As a front end engineer, what skill is most in demand? JavaScript, TypeScript, HTML, CSS, SAS preprocessors, Git, um, service workers, progressive web apps, responsive web design. What else? Um, mobile first design, testing, solid principles, model view controller, Angular, React, Vue. How do you retain all the information you're doing 4 hours a day learning code? Um, I'm not sure I retained all of it, but just practice, man. Muscle memory, forcing your brain to change and think differently. Any advice how to get QA jobs? Look up what QA jobs are looking to hire for, build projects in those technologies, gain those skills, and learn the sort of methodologies to be able to speak to it very well. Same sort of thing that you would do for front end. See if you can, if you have a friend who has like a startup, if you have friends who have projects and they're looking for a manual QA, or they're looking for someone to do automated testing, get them to let you do it and get them to say that you're a free intern or whatnot. Get that resume experience. Great career versus jobs video. Thank you. I didn't think too many people really liked it, but there's something. Oftentimes, I do things that are on my mind for the channel. Like I've always, people ask me like, "Well, why'd you change your channel name from Coding Tutorials 360 to Daily News Heroes?" One of it was personal sort of branding, but two, is this my channel? Like, and I sort of just want to talk about what I want to talk about, and most of it's software most of the time, but sometimes I want to just talk about what's going on in my mind, things that I've sort of thought about and I'm thinking about, and go from there. Yeah, QA is interesting to get a job in because it's one of the things where like no one's going to hire you without any experience as a dev to go work on their side project for free because you could jack some shit up, but you can go and do QA and not jack anything up. So like, hey, can I do QA on your project, some manual testing? I'll submit some bug tickets through the software, this and that. And then you go, okay, hey, I wrote some test cases, did all that, and you go, hey, I did some automated testing. All of a sudden, you're adding value. They might hire you, or you just have a great resume experience. So, VainQ, VainQ, you bringing up jQuery? Let me ask you. You guys get me riled up on this jQuery shit. So, JQ here, or VainQ, is his last day is his 2-year jQuery marketing website job. He's very hyped for his 4 upcoming React interviews, and he's already passed 1 take-home exam. VenQ, I'm sure you haven't quite got into numbers yet, but are you expected to make a significant pay bump after going from jQuery to a more modern framework where you're going to be doing more software development and web development than web design? I'm just curious. Yep, without a doubt. So money's not everything. You want to go work in jQuery, fine, man. Just understand you're going to be making that 30 to 44% more, VenQ says. 30 to 44% more. That's one jump. That's the initial jump. So, and let's put that in perspective. Let's just say you get 33%. Statistically speaking, not taking taxes into consideration, if you worked a year and you made $30,000, let's just say easy math, it would be the equivalent that you went up to $40,000. Or, as I like to look at it, I look at it as a time investment. So You just took off 4 months of having to do additional earnings and got it for free. That's how I look at it. If you're making 33% more, you got paid for 4 more months of work in a 1-year period of time. Do I follow the NBA? No, I don't. How you doing, Neil? How many times have I run into a problem that I could not solve? I mean, I asked for help, guys. So like, I asked for help. So if you get stuck, ask for help. I mean, there's probably been various times, and it's not that I can't solve them. It's that significant time has gone. So you have to be willing to cut your losses. Like my companies, like any company I've worked at, has not wanted me to sit down and just twiddle my thumbs for 20 hours. They instead would say, "Look, go ask one of these guys after 30 minutes. See if they can solve it." So hardest problem I've ran into, um, a lot of it's just requirements. A lot of it's the business saying they want one thing and giving you another, or we want this, this, and that, and we need it by Tuesday. That's the hard part. Doing my job's easy. Building code, writing code, delivering features, right? This is all stuff I already know how to do. None of it's challenging. The challenging part has always and will always be the business. I did return the little IKEA, so I got my $15 back. I took it back to IKEA. They weren't using it, man. I took it back. So no more little IKEA bed. I also cleaned it up because I've been see the camera with the microphone. I've been filming on my phone here, some upcoming courses as well as like the videos, stuff like that. So, all right, guys. Thank you to James who donated $4. That's appreciated, man. I know you guys. A lot of you guys are learning. A lot of you guys getting started, and so I appreciate that. As always, thank you for watching. This is our weekly AMA where I try to do do a little bit of mentoring, a little bit of direction, um, and look forward to next week's videos. We got some good ones coming out. Don't want to spoil it for you, but they're good. I promise. They're always good. um, I am going to probably go rest my eyes for about 10 minutes because I've been feeling tired since I did this, and I was hoping I'd feel a little bit better, a little bit more awake after our group one-on-one, but I don't. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm probably gonna go for a walk, rest my eyes, and then I got to come back and work on some courses. So I got some good stuff coming out for you guys probably the next 2 to 3 months, but it'll be good. Anyhow, see you guys next time. If you're interested in my current courses, there's links in the description below. Bye.